They said he would never speak. They said he was broken. But what if they were just speaking the wrong language? This is the story of a millionaire mother, a silent child, and the black cleaning lady who taught 9 languages and unlocked a miracle no doctor ever could. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever watched someone you love be dismissed, this story will heal something in you. Why are you speaking to my son? Victoria Blackwell's voice echoed through the marble-floored foyer of her $40 million estate, cold, sharp, and commanding. At 38, she was the heiress to a pharmaceutical empire, and at this very moment she was glaring with pure disdain at the scene before her, a black woman in a blue apron crouched on the floor beside her 7-year-old autistic son. Monica Santos, 34, calmly stood up and gathered her cleaning supplies. She had been working in this house for 3 months, always quiet, always invisible. No one knew she had once been a linguistics lecturer at 3 universities before losing everything and taking whatever job she could find to pay for her mother's medical bills. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Blackwell, I was just what Victoria cut her off. Stepping closer, the sharp click of her Louboutins striking the floor like a gavel. Oliver hasn't spoken to anyone in 2 years. No one. And now I find you here stuffing who knows what into his head." Oliver sat silently on the floor, a picture book in his lap. His striking blue eyes shimmered with a light Monica recognized instantly. It wasn't the look of disability, it was the look of pure intelligence, just waiting for the right key to unlock it. "I was just cleaning." "And he came over to me," Monica half lied. The truth was, over the past few weeks, she'd noticed something shift every time she hummed or whispered in different languages while working. First French, then Spanish. And yesterday, for the first time in months, the boy had whispered a single word, "Hola." Victoria snatched the book from her son's hands. It was in Italian. "Where did this come from?" "From the library, ma'am. I was organizing the shelves. And you thought you could use my son as some kind of experiment?" Victoria's eyes blazed. "He's severely autistic. He doesn't speak, doesn't interact, he can't learn. 3 of the top specialists in the country have confirmed that." Something flickered inside Monica's chest, not anger, but recognition. She'd seen that look before. The look adults gave children they'd already written off simply because they couldn't see beyond the limits of their own understanding. "With all due respect, Mrs. Blackwell," Monica said, her voice steady, the kind of steadiness only those who've survived storms can carry. "Sometimes children just need to be heard in the language they understand." Victoria scoffed. "A maid lecturing me about my own child. A child you've known for 3 months." "This isn't advice," Monica replied softly, kneeling back down beside Oliver. "It's a possibility." And then it happened. Oliver looked up from the book, met Monica's eyes, and whispered something that made Victoria stumble backward. "Merci, madame." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria blinked several times as if trying to convince herself she hadn't just heard what she heard. He spoke French." Monica nodded, her eyes glistening with quiet joy. "Children like Oliver aren't broken, Mrs. Blackwell. They're just speaking a different language." Victoria looked at her son, then at Monica, then back at Oliver, who was now flipping through the pages of the Italian book with wide, curious eyes. For the first time in 2 years, there was life behind them. "How did you know?" Victoria whispered, pride slowly giving way to something far more fragile, uncertainty. Monica smiled. Not a victorious smile, but the kind worn by someone who's holding a secret too powerful to reveal all at once. "Let's just say, I've been on the other side of this conversation before. There, in the cold marble foyer of a mansion where money could buy everything, except understanding, a woman the world had tried to ignore had just planted the seeds of a transformation no one saw coming. If you've ever been underestimated by the very people who were supposed to respect you, then you'll understand sometimes the deepest revenge is proving you can do what they never believed you could." The next morning, Victoria made a decision. She summoned Monica into her private study, a room lined with charity photos and framed contracts that hung like trophies of moral vanity. I need to make a few things clear, Victoria began curtly, not offering Monica a seat. What happened yesterday was just coincidence. Oliver occasionally makes random sounds. They don't mean anything. Monica remained standing, hands gently clasped in front of her. I understand, Mrs. Blackwell. I want you to stay away from him. No interaction. No getting close. Victoria paused for effect, her gaze narrowing with rising contempt. In fact, it's best if you stay in the basement and service areas from now on. Sandra will handle all zones where Oliver spends time. If only she knew, Monica thought. If only she knew I hold a PhD in applied linguistics from Columbia, that my specialization is cognitive development in multilingual neurodivergent children, that I've published 17 peer-reviewed papers. Of course, Mrs. Blackwell, I'll just clean. But Victoria wasn't done. And since we're on the topic of boundaries, she leaned back in her chair, a cruel smile playing on her lips. I hope you're not getting delusional over what happened yesterday. Oliver is severely autistic. 3 of the top neurologists in the country have confirmed it. He won't improve. He won't speak normally. He will never live a normal life. Every word was a calculated blade, but Monica didn't flinch. Inside, she thought of the 43 children she'd worked with, kids once labeled hopeless, now in college, fluent in multiple languages, building futures no one thought possible. I understand your concerns, ma'am. Concerns, Victoria scoffed with mockery. This is reality, and I won't have my son used as a pet project by someone who's unqualified. Later that afternoon, as Monica reorganized cleaning supplies in the basement, she heard footsteps descending the stairs. It was Dr. Marcus Chun, the family's private pediatrician, wearing a thoughtful expression. Sorry to interrupt, he said quietly, glancing around to make sure they were alone. I need to speak with you about Oliver. Monica paused, looking up. Is something wrong? Quite the opposite, he said, lowering his voice. Yesterday, when I heard him speak French, it was his first verbal communication in over 2 years. He stepped closer, his eyes fixed on hers. I've been a pediatrician for 20 years. I know the difference between a child reacting to a stimulus and one making random noises. Ms. Monica, what really happened? Monica felt her heart pound harder. Doctor, do you have a background in special education? There was a brief pause. She had to decide, tell the truth and possibly change everything, or stay silent and lose her one shot. She studied his face. If I told you I hold a PhD in applied linguistics and spent 5 years researching cognitive development in children, what would you do with that information? The silence that followed was suffocating. Dr. Chun blinked several times as if trying to compute what he had just heard. You're saying you have a PhD from Columbia? Yes. My dissertation was on multilingualism in neurodivergent children. I've published 17 international research papers. Good Lord. He sank onto a nearby box, stunned. A PhD in linguistics. Working as a housekeeper, Monica took a deep breath. Life happens, doctor. I lost my university job when my mother got sick. I needed money fast to cover her hospital bills. That was a year ago. Dr. Chun remained quiet, connecting dots in his head. So, Oliver, you think you can help him? I don't think I know. Her voice was steady, resolute. He isn't severely autistic, as they've diagnosed. Yes, he falls on the spectrum, but the core issue is selective mutism combined with heightened auditory sensitivity. His mother treats him like he's broken, so he shuts down completely. How can you be sure? Because I've seen 43 similar cases in the last 5 years. And today, 38 of those kids speak multiple languages and are living full, independent lives. Dr. Chun was silent for a long while. Then slowly he said, Tomorrow I'm scheduled to examine Oliver. Victoria wants to increase his medication. She believes he's regressing and hallucinating. No, he's not regressing. Monica shook her head. He's progressing. For the first time in 2 years, he's found a way to communicate in a language that fits him. I know. Dr. Chun pulled a business card from his coat pocket and handed it to her. My private number. If you're truly willing to help him, I'll find a way to back you medically, but it has to be discreet. After he left, Monica stood in the basement holding the card. For the first time in months, a spark began to kindle in her, the beginning of a plan. That evening, while Victoria dined at her elite country club with friends, Monica did something she hadn't done in 2 years. She called her old university. On the other end, a familiar voice answered. James Williams speaking. James, it's Lanna Santos. There was a pause. Then, Monica. My God, where have you been? Your research was just cited in 3 international journals. Harvard's been trying to reach you for 6 months. I've taken a temporary detour, Monica replied gently. But I need something urgently. I need copies of my intervention materials, specifically the selective mutism protocol. An hour later, she hung up the phone with something she hadn't felt in a very long time, hope. James would send everything she needed quietly, securely, and Monica was ready to begin rebuilding a fully personalized intervention plan for Oliver. A new beginning was finally in motion. But Monica had no idea that upstairs, Sandra, the family's housekeeper, had overheard part of the conversation. And by the next morning, that information would land directly in Victoria Blackwell's hands. Before the sun had fully risen, Sandra knocked on the door of Victoria's home office, her face a mix of urgency and quiet satisfaction. Mrs. Blackwell, I need to tell you something. Victoria looked up from her stack of financial reports, already irritated at the interruption. What is it now, Sandra? Last night I overheard the maid on the phone. She was talking about university research, about scientific publications. Sandra paused for effect. She said she was a doctor. Victoria blinked repeatedly. A doctor, Monica, yes, ma'am. And she spoke about over 40 cases just like Master Oliver. Sandra lowered her voice. I think she's pretending just to get close to him. Victoria felt the scattered pieces in her mind slowly click together, a cleaner teaching languages, using academic terms, making Oliver speak. It was all starting to seem suspicious. Bring her to me, right now. 15 minutes later, Monica stepped into the office. Victoria stood behind her desk laptop, open, her expression colder than ever. Sit. Her voice was ice. Monica calmly complied, maintaining the unshaken composure she had forged over months. You lied to me. Victoria turned the laptop screen toward her. Displayed clearly was the academic profile of Dr. Lanna Santos on Columbia University's website, complete with an extensive list of published research and international awards. I never lied to you, Mrs. Blackwell. Monica replied, her gaze steady on the screen. You just never asked. Never asked. Victoria slammed her palm against the desk. You let me believe you were some uneducated maid, when in fact you're a linguist with a doctorate and expert in autism. What difference would it have made? Monica said softly. From the first day you decided I was invisible, that my job was to scrub floors, not speak, that someone like me couldn't possibly have anything of value to offer. Something sharp twisted in Victoria's chest, a discomfort she didn't want to name. You should have told me. To what end? Monica's voice was even unshaken. So you could belittle me more creatively, so you could say even with a PhD, I'm still just the help. At that exact moment, the office door burst open. Oliver came running in, followed by Dr. Chun. Monica Luana, the boy cried out in Portuguese. Then he switched to French, J'apprends les chansons, and then to Spanish. ¿Puedes enseñarme más palabras? Victoria stood frozen, speechless. The son she once believed would never speak had just switched effortlessly between 3 languages in a single breath. Dr. Chun stepped forward. I need to show you this. He placed a tablet on the desk and began playing a series of video clips Monica had discreetly recorded under his medical supervision. In the first clip, Oliver counted from 1 to 10 in German. In the second, he recited the alphabet in Mandarin. In the third, he sang a children's song in Arabic. 7 languages, Dr. Chun said, in just 3 weeks. Oliver isn't just speaking, he's demonstrating a deep understanding of complex grammar structures. His cognitive abilities far exceed the standard. Victoria looked at her son, then at Monica, then at the screen as if the entire world had shifted beneath her feet in a matter of minutes. How is this even possible? Because Oliver was never severely autistic, Monica said gently, kneeling beside the boy. Your son suffers from selective mutism brought on by emotional trauma and prolonged isolation. The moment he found a safe space and a way to communicate that made sense to him, he began to bloom. Oliver turned to his mother, looking her directly in the eyes for the first time in 2 years. Mom, he said in English, Monica says I'm smart. Then switching to Italian, lei mi ha insegnato a parlare. Voglio imparare di più. She taught me how to talk. I want to learn more. Victoria broke down in tears. She had never seen her son, truly seen him like this. Oliver, she whispered, sinking to her knees. Have you always been able to speak yes, Mom? But every time I tried, you looked sad, so I stopped. Then he looked at Monica, reaching out and holding both their hands. Mama. Monica. We're a real family now, aren't we? And in that moment, 3 lives were changed forever. She was just a cleaning lady. He was just an autistic boy. But together they proved that love, patience, and understanding can unlock a voice the world had already given up on. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Subscribe for more powerful, real stories about the people society overlooks and the quiet revolutions that change lives forever. Because sometimes, the most powerful voice is the one no one expected to hear.